Season 1, episode 2. We are back. A lot of stuff happened this past week, and we'll get all into it. For those of you who don't know, I am Dave, 10-year intellectual property attorney, dealing with everything. As you see the shirt say patents, copyrights, trademarks, as well as trade secrets. And we got a full show for you guys today. Now, fortunately, a lot of pretty cool things that happened over the week that we'll get all off into. But the unfortunate part about it is, if you're probably watching this, I am coming back from Illinois, let's just say on the plane. I have some business to take care of out of town this weekend. So I pre-recorded this so that I can still get it to you guys to look at. So please kind of, still leave the comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the different things and topics that we're talking about. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Again, we have a lot to go over. I have the interview of the week that came out, Life Raft Treats, pretty much making food items into ice cream. So we'll get off into a portion of that snippet of the interview from Cynthia Wong. We're getting off into Travis Scott, Rock Nation artist sues Travis Scott, sees a future for copyright infringement. So that was something that was interesting. We get off in a T.I. and Tiny case. It seems like they initially was awarded $71 million from MGA Entertainment, or the jury awarded them $71 million for a trade dress infringement for the OMG girls. For those of you who don't know, they had a group. The daughter was one of the members. They had two other members from OMG Girls, and they had some DAOs and other things that they were looking to come out with. And it seems like MGA Entertainment, which we all know, a billion-dollar corporation, does music, does toys, does a lot of different things. They actually was selling the DAOs, and it looks like jury originally awarded T.I. and Tiny $71 million, but the judge picked it up and reduced that to an amount that makes you think, man, they just playing around. So we'll get off into that. Zuckerberg, we'll talk about Zuckerberg, and seems like he maybe improved some pirating, so we'll get off into that. UGG. Now, I don't own a pair of UGG boots, but it seems like UGG, they were allowed to stop an Australian company that's been around for 5 decades, 50 plus years, kind of stopped selling their boots under the term, using the term UGG in other countries. So we'll talk about that. And then last but not least, the IP lawsuit of the week is Moana. Disney seems like they were being sued by a man claiming that Moana 2, they took their ideal, and he's asking for just a cool $10 billion. But again, who's counting? So we got a lot to get off into today. Let me kind of cue this thing up here as we get off into, first and foremost, the chicken ice cream. So I'm going to pull up I'm only going to play a snippet. Please go check out the full interview. This interview I thought was really a really good interview, actually really insightful, from Cynthia Wong. So just kind of give you a little bit about her. She's a pastry chef, and things started to look a little, let's say, less secure or stable when she is kind of working with restaurants, things like that. So she decided to go into business for herself, kind of create these treats. Life Raft Treats is the name of the company, which she does have a trademark on. And seems like they're doing pretty good. So let's kind of take a look at this interview, and then I kind of give you my thoughts on what I think about it.
And so, in the course of me leaving this job and things getting really contentious when I was leaving about who owned what, I learned this is very, very interesting.
Hold on, let me see here. Sometimes I watch these videos on 2x. So let me go to the normal speed and go. Let's go.
The idea of it didn't really belong to anybody, because I had the recipe in a book, and the book was not locked behind, lock and key. And I had gone on like a video show explaining how to make it. It was out there. So now that it was out there, it didn't belong to him, and it didn't belong to me. And so that was kind of lucky, because it would have been harder for me to prove that it was a proprietary recipe and belonged completely to me than it was to say, well, it doesn't belong to him either. That was where it ended, and it was really interesting thing to learn. And I think for young cooks and chefs and young creators that work for other companies, it's something they need to keep an eye out on and think about.
No, and again, just to kind of, seems like I was drinking with the lime Topo Chico in that video, but now I have the Topo Chico, just a regular kind. So I need to reach out to Topo Chico, see if I can get a brand deal. But again, she said something that was interesting, and a lot of people don't think about. So obviously we know patents, we know trademarks, we know copyrights, and we kind of know what subject matter falls in which. But this thing that people don't know a lot about is trade secret. And as Cynthia talked about, when you are a chef, recipes and things like that are very important to you. Just think of KFC. Just think of the Chick-fil-A recipe. Just think of, hey, Coca-Cola with the Coca-Cola, the formula for the Coca-Cola. So all that stuff is kind of unique and gives a particular restaurant or business an economic advantage in a marketplace. And those things are protected by trade secret. Now, trade secret is different from the other forms because you don't file trade secrets with any governmental body. For example, trademarks, USPTO, you file that with the USPTO. Patents, you file it with the USPTO. Copyrights, you file it with the Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office. But with trade secrets, you kind of keep it hidden. And I think Cynthia talked about that, where she was working for an old employer. When it was time to leave, she was talking about how it became this big thing of, okay, who's going to own this kind of secret sauce that Cynthia came up with? And because she disclosed the secret sauce, nobody owned it because it was in a public domain. And that's how trade secrets work. You can protect the trade secret as long as you keep it tucked away or locked away, that secret locked away. But to the extent that you disclose it or becomes available to the public, you can no longer get that trade secret, or you can no longer protect it. So again, Cynthia saying in the interview that, hey, once I disclosed it, nobody owned it. I didn't own it. He didn't own it. Anybody can use it. So that's one of the things that she talked about as far as the, if you're working with a restaurant or employer for that matter, and you have this kind of secret formula or secret sauce recipe, whatever the case may be, you need to, before you go into it, you need to kind of really understand, maybe it's a negotiating tool for you to say, hey, I came in with my secret formula and I'm going to keep it. I'll allow you guys, allow you guys to benefit from it. However, it's still mine, and I'm going to take measures to keep it a secret so that to the extent that I'm no longer working with you guys, then it's still my IP. And that's probably what she should have done. Instead, again, just really not knowing. And this is the whole point of the channel, Everything Intellectual Property, where I do really want to give you guys some value. And how she should have approached that situation, especially if she had this trade secret already, just to say, hey, just to let you know, I have this trade secret, a product that I, that's kind of unique to me. And like I said, I'll kind of make it and have you guys benefit from it economically, but it's still owned by me, such that if I was to leave, then I still keep that instead of you guys owning it. Because a lot of employee contracts are saying, hey, they own all the IP that comes for your services. In fact, I had a situation a couple years ago where a gentleman called me, and his daughter was in like culinary school at a local college, and she had a sauce that she made while in a culinary school. And next thing you know, I'm not sure if she finished culinary school or she kind of dropped out or whatever. But next thing you know, the school is selling the actual sauce to others. They're selling it to companies, local businesses. And when the father found out, they like, hold on, man, we want some recourse. But, number one, as I told the gentleman, as part of that student university kind of agreement that you're signing, they probably have something in their IP clause to talk about them owning IP, any IP that comes as a result of, this person's, being a student within our college, university, whatever the case may be. But on the second and maybe more important part of it is, you got to keep this stuff a secret. If anybody has access to it, if you're telling other people, then it's no longer a secret, and therefore you cannot protect it. You need to keep this stuff really tight and tucked away so that you and maybe others who need to know the secret recipe or the secret sauce has access to it, but everybody doesn't have access to it. You're making university, or you're letting the employer know ahead of time, hey, I had this coming in and I have this coming out. So again, I think it was a great interview from Cynthia. I appreciate her coming on. Please go check out the full interview. Again, essentially chicken ice cream. And she actually sent me some. I actually have one more. It was like a box of, the chicken that you get when you go to a chicken spot. It was like a bucket. It was a lot of little, chicken drums, but they're ice cream. And I actually probably like 10 or 12 of them. And I'm only down to one. So those things are really good. So definitely go check out that. Let's move on here. So you have T.I. Tiny. Now I kind of bring up, let me see if I can do something to bring it up in a different way. T.I. and Tiny, man, it seems like they had some good stuff going on, and maybe it looked like their parade got rained on a little bit, which I guess this stuff happens. Let me see here. I don't know why it's not doing it the way I wanted to do it. Let me see. It's still not doing it the way I wanted to. Okay, here we go. This should work. Here we go. T.I. and Tiny. So, for those of you who don't know, T.I. and Tiny recently won an award from a jury, I should say, from, again, the OMG Dials. I talked about that during my opening, and they were awarded $71 million. Now, out of that $71 million, $17 million was because of compensatory damages, or essentially damages based on the lost profits, and 50 plus million was due to punitive damages, or damages to punish the actual wrongdoer, in this case, MGA Entertainment. Again, this is fresh off the press a week or so ago. And when a judge picked it up, and that's why you want to have a jury kind of decide the matter, because a lot of the times, man, a jury is looking, especially the wrongdoer, they're really looking to punish you. And when you see these big judgments, 200 million, 50 million, 100 million, majority of that a lot of times is punitive damages, and the compensatory damages due to the lost profits is typically not that much. It still may be within the millions, but again, you're talking about 17 million in compensatory damages. And in this case, 50 something million in punitive damages. So the jury definitely stuck it to MGA Entertainment for their acts, which they thought were willful. However, the judge picked it up, and in these cases, he has the discretion to do, or she has the discretion to do. And they said, hold on, wait a minute. Let me look at this a little longer. But in the meantime, I'm going to award T.I. and Tiny just $17 million for MGA's wrongdoing of trade dress infringement. And this whole $50+ million punitive damages, I don't know about that. Let me sleep on it. So it looks like I kind of was checking before this recording this show, and it doesn't look like the judge made a decision yet. So I'll definitely kind of keep you guys abreast of that. And I did maybe a full breakdown where we kind of went through the article on the channel, Everything Intellectual Property. So definitely go check out that video. It's probably like 12 minutes or so where we kind of get off into the details of what really happened. What did the judge say? I'm pulling up paperwork to show you what he did. And there's some interesting things that a lot of people don't know about that T.I. and Tiny case. So definitely go check out that. But again, this is more so like a weekly recap where, okay, something that happened this week that was worth recapping on this was the fact that T.I. and Tiny got their judgment reduced by about 50 some million. And the interesting thing about that is I kind of pulled it up. Zinfonique, which is one T.I. and Tiny's daughter, who's one of the group members of the OMG Girls. She actually, after the $71 million was awarded, she kind of went to go buy it. Well, AMG Benz, whatever it's called. I don't have a Benz, so I'm not sure exactly which one she got. So, it's like, okay, is she going to take the Benz back? Because you figure T.I., Tiny plus 3 girls, so you at least split it 5 ways. So, 71 million, we can split 71 million 5 ways. What is that? 10 to $15 million per person. But when you're talking about 17 million split 5 ways, a little bit over $3 million. Do I spend $60,000, $70,000 on the Benz, $100,000 on the Benz? I'm not sure. So if you guys see that Zinfonique, T.I. and Tiny's daughter, if you guys see them taking that Benz back, or without a Benz, she probably took it back given the lawsuit. So let's kind of move on here. This time we're going to talk about Travis Scott being sued for trademark or copyright infringement. And this was actually due to a Rock Nation artist, which again, I did the full video or more in-depth breakdown of the video on the channel. So definitely go check that out, Everything Intellectual Property. But here we is where this was actually a Rock Nation artist, Victory, which is a heck of a name, I think, for a Rock Nation artist, for any person. But her name is Victory, and she was an artist that, hey, as the article say up top, Kanye West is always involved in something. So the Rock Nation singer Victory Boyd claims Kanye West shared the song with Scott, who then shared it with Future and Caesar, but she never granted permission of the track to be released on Utopia. So it seems like Utopia is Travis Scott's latest album, and the song is actually where she said was copyrighted was Telekinesis. It was actually a decent song. I'm not a big Travis Scott listener, but I listen to the song, which I'm not going to play because I'm not trying to get a copyright infringement. But it seems like Telekinesis was actually a pretty cool song featuring SZA as well as Future. And what happened was, it seems like Victory shared this song with Kanye West. Kanye West apparently shared it with Travis Scott. Travis Scott shared it, as the article was talking about, with Future and Caesar. They made this record. And the interesting thing with AP, the watch company, as they were going to do an ad, they actually reached out to Victory Boyd, the Rock Nation artist, to get approval, which, man, anytime you're reaching out to somebody for approval, you're pretty much saying, hey, they own at least a portion of this song. I think the article, which again, I'll talk a little bit more in detail on kind of the full breakdown, which is like 10 to 12 minutes. So definitely go check that out on the YouTube channel, Everything Intellectual Property. But it seems like on the song, Victory Boyd she's given credit as being, having, being owner, or at least having something to do with it. So that's kind of weird. And it seems like Travis Scott, they said, gave her or offered her at least 8% or 2.5% of the son. So definitely it seems like, just from the allegations that are being made, she's a part of it. If I had to guess, this definitely probably will get settled. But again, the whole part of this with the weekly recap is, hey man, this intellectual property is valuable. We were talking a little bit a while ago with trade dress and trademarks. We're talking about with Cynthia Wong with her Life Raft treats, trade secrets. And again, this is copyright. So all this stuff is valuable. All this stuff, it can be monetized. So again, definitely just kind of be conscious of that as you're going forward with your intellectual property. So let's kind of move on here. And I thought this was an interesting one. So this is UGG makes Australian company rebrand. So let me kind of pull up here the picture from the New York Post, which I actually broke down. So again, definitely go check that out. Like I said, all these videos that I'm going with the weekly recaps, they are available. Let's see if I can get to they are available on the YouTube channel. Here we go. There's a lot going on in this article as far as UGGs go. Let me see if I can kind of clear some of this stuff out. So there you go, the UGG retailer. So what you guys don't know is, apparently in Australia, that's where the term UGGs originated, with the sheepskin coat boot or sheepskin boots. And it seems like that's where it's originated. And it's a generic term in Australia, which it seems like if somebody's trying to go get with the generic term, you can never protect the generic term. You can't protect it in the US. You can't protect it apparently in Australia. So UGG apparently is a generic term in Australia. So you can't get trademark protection on that term. However, in the US, you can get protection on it. And it seems like the Decker Corporation owns the trademark for UGG, which it seems like they kind of bought, back in 1995. But the interesting twist to this case is the fact that the UGG company, I think it was UGG since 1974. I think that was the term that they got trademarked in Australia, since they couldn't get UGG by itself trademark. They got UGG since 1974 trademark in Australia. It seems like they had to drop out the UGG part of that, because the Decker Corporation, who owns UGG in the US as well as in 129 other countries, kind of hit them with essentially a lawsuit. But the interesting thing is, UGG in the US, that trademark did not get protected until 1978. And UGG, as the name applies, UGG since 1974, was founded in 1974, which again goes to show you that, and I talked about it ad nauseum on the actual detailed breakdown. If you are outside of the US, and again, I get it, you want to protect it in your home country first. That second country that you need to protect it sooner rather than later is the US. And obviously, if you're a US company or if you're a US person, you need to be protecting it in the US first, and then you can kind of go from there. Because if UGG, 1974, if the Australian company would have trademarked their term, whether in 1974 when they first got incorporated, or 75 or 76 or 77, they would have owned the term UGG. And UGG, as we know, that's owned by the Decker Corporation, would have probably never existed. However, they more or less dropped the ball, and then it was trademarked in 1978 by somebody who actually came from Australia. And over time, it eventually got sold to the Decker Corporation, and voila, you have the UGGs as we know it. So again, this stuff is not only important because you can protect it and monetize off of it, but it's really a first to file. To the extent that you overseas or in the US, you need to be sure that you're being able to scrape up $1,000 or so to file your trademark, especially if you want to have it to be a national brand or a national brand or a worldwide brand. We all have aspirations when we're doing business and whatnot to have national and worldwide brands, but sometimes you got to put your money where your mouth is. You don't want to get your hand caught in a cookie jar where all of a sudden you're getting some traction and you find out that you can't protect the term because somebody else has protected it, or somebody else has protected it. So, and I know a lot of times people try to argue with me on, hey, don't worry about the IP, just have a good product and the IP can come later. That's just false and not good thinking on many levels. Number one, because a lot of times, especially with patents, you have kind of time bars that can bar you from protecting the IP. But again, all this stuff is really first to file, whether it's trademarks, whether it's copyright. You don't necessarily have to file it first to get protection on it, but definitely with trademarks as well as patents, to the extent that somebody else files it with the USPTO or with another patent office, trademark office within another country, they're going to get rights to it. So definitely be aware of kind of protecting this stuff first. It seems like the Australian company it changed everything. They were UGG since 1974, and they essentially had to go through a rebrand. I think, as the article suggests, that's what does the article say? Australian UGG retailer forced to change his name over U.S. shoe giant. So just think about that. You've been doing business for 50 plus years, and all of a sudden you got to change the name because you didn't file your trademark when you were supposed to. So again, hopefully you guys kind of got that weekly recap. Definitely go check out the video that I did for a more detailed breakdown. I think this is an interesting one. Your boy Zuckerberg. I know he was on Joe Rogan podcast, I think, earlier this year, but he may find himself in hot water here coming up. It seems like Zuckerberg appears to know Meta-trained AI on pirated library. Like I said, it seems like he approved of that. A lot of times when you have these kind of AI training models such as ChatGPT, whatever the case may be, they just don't run off of nothing. You have to kind of train it, and over time, the AI gets better and better. The AI model gets better and better. And with this case, particularly to kind of books and that kind of library, you know how when you go to ChatGPT and type in, hey, write me a book or a story based on these subjects and X, Y, and Z, and then it comes give you that nice, well put together story or book that you turn in and get an A, and maybe you get caught, maybe you not get caught, but at least you didn't have to worry about spending the time. Well, when you go to ChatGPT and these other AI models to kind of put in these inputs to kind of produce that nice piece of work, those AI models have to be trained on something. And in this case, with Facebook and Meta and what Zuckerberg did, they were taking other authors' books and using that to train a model, which you have one problem there. You didn't have permission from the actual authors because the authors own copyrights on their books. And to the extent that you don't have permission to use their work, you are committing copyright infringement. So it seems like the authors of the book who owns the copyright, they kind of band together and came after Zuckerberg. It seems like they weren't initially successful, but after this additional information came out on this article that, hey, he knew of this and he did anything. It seems like the Meta AI executive team actually went to Zuckerberg like, look, and there's emails of this saying, hey, we are pirating this work. We are using this work without permission. We probably should slow down on this because, your boy Trump is coming in office and we're going to be on Capitol Hill shortly thereafter trying to explain this, and let's not put ourselves in a further of a hole. And that's probably why Zuckerberg, it seems like he's kind of been jumping on a MAGA train lately. And maybe a part of that is try to get some protection when he's on Capitol Hill here over the next couple of weeks, kind of being faced with questions. So again, the social media giants, you have the Elon Musk with Twitter, you have Zuckerberg with Facebook and Meta, these different giant social media giants. It seems like they're a lot of times trying to throw their weight around, and Zuckerberg may have got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And let's see if the court makes him pay for these copyright infringements, or do we just settle with the authors? I know I kind of did some videos months ago now where Temu and Sheen was doing the same thing on the copyright, where they're kind of taking artists' work, more so like drawings and stuff like that, and using them for rugs and picture frames and things like that. They got hit with a copyright lawsuit, and it seems like they kind of paid off the authors. So let's see what Zuckerberg does, whether or not he pays off the authors or if he actually kind of fights it all the way. I'd be surprised if he fights it all the way. But again, this stuff is important, and yeah, that's that. So then we will end with the IP lawsuit of the week. And I'll actually go through the complaint on this one, which this should be a pretty good one. Let me kind of pull up the complaint here. There you go. Bada boom, bada bang. Let me see if this works the way I want it to work. I don't really like that. I don't like the way it. Yeah, see, I'm gonna have to. Let's go. So I'm gonna have to remove it. So as you see here, a $10 billion movie script. It seems like your boy Woodall is saying that Walt Disney and some other bad actors took his copyright. Again, a movie script is a copyright. Took his copyright without his permission, and they actually had some kind of bad things that they did along the way. And he won his money. $10 billion. We owe Moana one. Seems like that was one of the higher grossing films of Walt Disney's or just kind of history as it relates to that type of film, animations for kids. It seems like Moana 2 just came out, 2 or 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and that surpassed Moana 1. So it seems like that's going to be a crazy, even more and a crazier profits for Disney. It seems like your boy Woodall wants his cut to the tune of $10 billion. So let's get off into the movie script. I'm going to take this banner away just so that you guys can see this. And as you can see here, the plaintiff, Buck Woodall, and he's suing Walt Disney. He's suing all the Disney corporations. Walt Disney Company, Disney Pictures, Walt Disney Pictures and Television, Walt Disney Company, Disney Television Animation, Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney Animation Studio. He's suing everybody. Then at the bottom here, Menonville Films, which keep an eye out on them. He's suing them, and we'll figure out why they're involved. And then he's suing a person in their individual capacity, Jenny Merchick. So he's essentially suing all the Walt Disney corporations. He's suing Menonville Films, which is a California corporation that's not a part of Walt Disney. And then he's suing Jenny Merchick. And I'll let you guys know she worked at Menonville Films, and I think she's currently working at Disney, Walt Disney. So that's kind of the link between Menonville, Jenny, and Walt Disney. So Walt Disney, Jenny, the Jenny Merchick character, she actually worked currently with Walt Disney, and she worked for Menonville Films. So just kind of keep all that in mind as we're going through this one, because this one is actually a pretty interesting one. Let's see here. Plaintiff, Buck G. Woodall. I'm calling Buck in this one, who also goes by Buck. Buck Woodall is a resident of Baja, Mexico, and Taos, New Mexico. So this guy seems like he has dual citizenship. Or at least dual residency. He stays in Baja, Mexico, as well as New Mexico. Referred to in this complaint as plaintiff, I'm gonna call him Buck. Plaintiff is a professional writer, as well as producer and artist. So it seems like he's a creative. And obviously, we have all the Disney corporations, which I'm not going to spend much time on with that. Let's kind of go down here. Let's start with 15. During their engagement in the wrongful conduct alleged in this complaint, Disney, as well as the other defendants, acted in concert with one another, intentionally orchestrating and executing a calculated scheme designed to defraud, injure, and irreparably harm Buck. The defendants, or Walt Disney, acting as co-conspirators in joint ventures, participated in a fraudulent enterprise that encompassed the theft, misappropriation, and the extensive exploitation of Buck's copyrighted materials, IP, and trade secrets, as set forth in this complaint. This conspiracy was marked by a web of coordinated actions, including but not limited to deliberate misrepresentations to deceive Buck, a systematic concealment of critical evidence, convert meetings to plan their infringing activities, and the distribution of stolen materials across various platforms, thereby maximizing their illicit profits at Buck's expense. So let me bring it back on myself. These are some heavy allegations that they're saying. Buck is not saying, okay, they just committed copyright infringement. They really kind of almost on some RICO stuff. If I'm being honest, they're saying this was a conspiracy. They knew about this. Let's kind of go back. Let's pull it back up here. It was coordinated actions, systematic concealment, so they concealed critical evidence. They had meetings to plan that they're going to infringe my stuff, and they stole my stuff across multiple platforms. So this is some heavy stuff that it seems like Buck is alleging. And I want to hear from you guys as we kind of get more off into this thing. Do you kind of side with Buck on this one? Are you like, man, Buck full of it? Another one trying to get some money off a successful film, and we kind of more so are on Walt Disney side. Just kind of keep that in mind. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. And I didn't say this before, but definitely please like this, for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit a like button, a subscribe button to be a part of the IP community. I would love to have you guys a part of the IP community where, as you could tell, we talk about a lot of different things, and we're kind of even adding more stuff to kind of the program and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that. Let's move on here. Walt Disney and the other defendants' conspiracy extended to publishing a new infringing motion picture, right, under this court's jurisdiction, while intentionally disregarding and actively violated this court's order, compelling the disclosure of relevant documentation and information, including that associated with Moana 2. So it seems like Buck is saying, hey, court, y'all told Walt Disney, Menonville, as well as Jenny to do stuff, and they didn't do it. They defied your guys' court order. They disregarded your guys' court orders, compelling to put forth or kind of present certain information. And I think that's big, because that's obviously contempt of the court, which courts really hate that. In furtherance of their scheme, the defendants not only failed to produce the mandated evidence as ordered by this court, and they're in California, and federal court in California. Just to let you guys know, all intellectual property matters are typically handled at the federal level. You have some kind of state trademark stuff and some state trade secret stuff, but typically state courts are not equipped with the resources as well as the know-how to litigate these issues, and trademark and patents specifically, as well as copyrights. Those are also kind of, patents and copyrights specifically you have to bring those in federal court. Trademarks, you can technically bring it in state court, but typically those are brought in a federal court just because, like I said, the federal court has more resources and they kind of have the know-how to kind of deal with these issues. And a lot of times when you have, whether it's a trademark, copyright, or patent infringement, a lot of times if it's a trade secret issue, they'll throw that in as well, which a federal court will look at. So that's kind of definitely, if you're kind of looking to sue somebody for trademark for IP infringement, that's pretty much going to be done at the federal level. You're not going to do that in state court, as a FYI. So in furtherance of their scheme, the defendants not only failed to produce, but also engaged in efforts to secret, destroy, or alter incriminating documents and digital files to further secrete the evidence. These acts were undertaken with the singular purpose of obstructing justice. They obstructed justice, innovating accountability, all while repairing billions of dollars in lawful. So they made billions of dollars illegally, is what Buck is saying. None of which could have been achieved without the carefully planned conspiracy alleged herein, as well as the carefully implemented domination of control by the Walt Disney Corporation. I'm surprised that he didn't try to sue him for a RICO. Civil action. You can do, a lot of times you hear RICO at the federal level, for criminal, but you can have a civil RICO case. I think with Sheen and Timu, a lot of people, they gathered together to say, hey, man, this was a RICO. They were doing this to multiple people. In addition, the conspiracy, including fraudulent indictment and exploration. Let's see. Let's go down and see if we can get to some interesting stuff. So let's go to the nature of the case. This case arises from 2 decade-long schemes masterminded by Merchant. This is Jenny, the individual, but ultimately joined in with malice and profited from all the defendants, pursuant to the aforementioned conspiracy described in this complaint. The scheme started out as a plan by Jenny to support her thirst to gain success and her desired career in the movie industry at all costs by working with the defendants or the Walt Disney to steal all the components of plaintiff's book copyrighted materials, as that term is defined in this complaint. So look it, they said a success and power is a drug, and Jenny wanted it all, and she was willing to go to infringing means, go to illegal means to get the power, to get the success. That's essentially what your boy Buck is saying. This step resulted in what would eventually become one of the most unique and profitable animated film franchises in motion picture history, revolving around Buck's copyrighted materials and directly resulting in Disney's franchise known as Moana. The core of entire Moana's franchise is Buck's copyrighted materials. So he's saying that, hey, Moana is pretty much off my copyrighted materials, off my movie script that you guys are going to hear about. The Moana franchise resulted in the motion picture Moana 1, which Disney Automated produced and released theatrically in November of 2016. It then resulted in a distribution of Moana 1 into secondary markets throughout 17 and 18, including home distribution. And the franchise then most recently resulted in a sequel called Moana 2, released within 30 days of filming this complaint. This Moana franchise, which was developed off the back of plaintiff's copyrighted materials or Buck's copyrighted materials, while Jenny, Walt Disney intentionally stole and utilized these copyrighted materials, acting as if the defendants themselves owned them, has garnered for the defendants more than $10 billion in profits, and Buck won his just due. Now, let me actually, and I didn't mention this earlier on, but with copyright infringement, it's a statute of limitations, like most things. You have a statute of limitations to bring the lawsuit, and if you don't bring the lawsuit within that statute of limitations, then you're pretty much barred. So Moana 1, I think it came out 2016, I think as the complaint said, and you have 3 years to bring your copyright infringement case from the date that the infringement activities accrue, which in this case with Moana 1 was 2016. And Buck, he actually tried to bring a copyright infringement lawsuit against Walt Disney and these other actors, but the court dismissed it because he tried to bring it in like 2023. The court is like, hey, man, you're 3 years too late. The statute of limitations has ran and we're going to release it. But then, when he heard Moana 2 was coming out, he's like, hey, I need that. So, and I'm saying that to say that I think he's really kind of trying to wrap everything into one, but it's really kind of two cases, if I'm being honest. And he's kind of trying to maybe paint a picture with Moana 1, but the court already has said that, hey, Moana 1, you can't get anything from that because you waited too late. So if you're trying to get money from Moana 2, okay, no, you can, I hear you out on that. But he's kind of conflating Moana 1 and Moana 2 to say, hey, I want money from everything. Where the court already has said, hey, which I'm assuming that they're going to say that in their, and Walt Disney will say that in their response to say, hey, man, this whole Moana 1 thing, we have already kind of dealt with that. This court has dismissed it. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through, because he is trying to buck the plaintiff who's suing Walt Disney. He is trying to conflate two cases, which the court already kind of said, hey, you can't get anything from Moana 1 because you just waited too late. So definitely keep that in mind. The theft scheme has now been largely admitted to the defendants in the Penny case style Buck Woodall versus the Walt Disney case. Okay, so maybe they're going to be talking about it. For example, in Woodall versus Disney 1, while dismissing some defendants of statute of limitations. Okay, look, I didn't even realize that they're going to talk about it. I just figured to let you guys know. So it seems like they're talking about it here now. Well, dismissing some of defendants on the statute of limitation grounds solely involving the 2016 theatrical release of Moana 1. This court found, as a matter of law, defendant Jenny, who has received plaintiff's copyrighted materials in confidence from plaintiff 20 years ago. So that's how Jenny is involved. A book is saying, hey, I gave this to Jenny 20 years ago, admitted under oath that she provided the copyrighted materials to an individual at Disney Animation TV prior to the beginning of the development of the 2017 Moana motion picture. The court also found tribal issues on fact regarding both substantially similarity and striking similarity between the copyrighted materials on the one hand and Moana on the other hand. So pretty much what Buck is saying is, hey, Jenny already said that I gave her these. Not only did I give her this copyrighted materials of, essentially my movie script Buck, but it seems like he's saying that she admitted under oath that she gave the copyrighted materials to the Disney Animation TV, which we all know is owned by Walt Disney and kind of all those corporations. So he's saying that, look, it's already a connection. And the importance of saying that is you have to kind of prove that if you created two things independently, then it's not copyright infringement, no matter if they're similar or not. But if the one person essentially knew about your stuff and they kind of went on and kind of did something and copyright and made their own stuff and they had features that were substantially similar, then it's copyright infringement at that point. So that's essentially why he's saying, hey, Walt Disney, they knew about it because Jenny, she admitted that she gave him the script. And then he's kind of paint that picture to say, hey, this was connected. They had my script. They had access to it. They essentially copied it. So that's essentially the importance of that actual paragraph. Let's move on here. Although the defendants were subject to two of this court's orders and so he's going back, compelling the defendants to produce all materials involving or relating to the character names Moana. And although the defendants stipulated before this court to produce all materials, the defendants defrauded this court advice. So, hey, they didn't present any of the stuff that y'all told them to present. At the time, the defendants intentionally defrauded Buck in this court while knowing that the responsive documentation that was secret and utilized all of Buck's copyrighted materials. Walt Disney and Company repeatedly represented that they had produced all responsive documents regarding the character Moana, when in truth and in fact, they knew that they were secretly developing images and documents daily that were continuing to infringe upon defendants' copyrighted materials. According to the proof, the foregoing illegal conduct by Walt Disney and Company has been identical to the willful plan of infringement that they have utilized for the past 2 decades regarding Buck's copyrighted materials and launching of the Moana franchise. The foregoing fraud on this court by the defendants resulting from the defendants, Walt Disney and Company's willfully malicious motives, according to the proof, leading to it. So he trying to get more money. He said 10 billion. I should be getting 50 billion based off what they did. Let's kind of move on here before we get to the allegations. Buck now proceeds with this complaint to recover the billions of dollars. Man, it's just crazy to sue somebody for billions. But hey, man, heck, if you think you're due for it, go for it. A profit realized by Walt Disney and Company decisions to create an unauthorized derivative works of the copyrighted materials without permission, and indeed utilizing actual malice and bad faith in violation of essentially copyright law, which expressly provides that the copyright owner has the exclusive right to prepare derivative works based on the copyrighted work. Because this court has already found as a matter of law that Woodall is the owner of the copyrighted material. So did they say that he was the owner of the copyrighted material? Man, I have to go take a look at that. So they're saying in the original case that was dismissed because of the statute of limitations. Buck is saying that, hey, y'all already said that I'm the owner, but I do want to talk about the derivative works thing. So what is a derivative work, Dave? So when you do something, so again, it's a number of copyright subject matters that can be copyrightable. You have music, you have a book, you have motion pictures, you have sound recordings, you have the production of something. All these are copyrightable subject matter. 2D works, 3D works. So a derivative work is when you take one copyright subject matter, you make something else out of it. So in this case, if you take a book, again, which is copyrightable subject matter, then you make a movie off of the book. That book is a derivative work. It's based off the actual book. So that's one of the great things about copyright people that a lot of people don't appreciate is that you have the exclusive authority to make derivative works, or obviously you can sign away those derivative works to other people. And to the extent that, so you can also not only sign them all over to other people, you can license it. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of monetize. I know one of my favorite shows, or not shows, but my favorite, I guess, movies, if you want to call it, that I like to watch is Hamilton. So you have the stage performance, which is a choreographic work, which Hamilton, I forget the guy's name who created it, but that's protected via copyright. But then you have the kind of distribution of this thing based like kind of more so making it a motion picture. That's a derivative work based off the stage event. And the composer of Hamilton and creator of Hamilton gave that right to, actually talking about Disney, he gave that right to Disney. So he owned the ability to be able to perform this work of Hamilton, which he gets paid for, going all over the country, doing shows for Hamilton. And he gave Walt Disney the exclusive right to be able to display that performance in that motion picture theme. So if you go to Disney Plus, type in Hamilton, you'll be able to see that stage performance Hamilton, which he gave Walt Disney the exclusive right to be able to do that. And Walt Disney gave him millions of dollars as a result of it. I think like $30 million. So I think this is important for you guys to know that, hey, a derivative work, it gives you the right to come out with other copyrights or come out with other copyrightable things based on your initial copyright. So in this case, if you wrote a book and now you want to have a motion picture, now you want to have create music off that book, you want to kind of have authors, 2D works, pictures, 2D pictures, 3D pictures of the book. You have the right to do it because you have the right to prepare derivative works based on the copyrighted work. So that's essentially what that's saying, and I think that was important to spend a little bit more time on. But we're going to kind of go through the allegations here pretty quickly. So let's go to Moana 1. Disney's Moana 1 was produced in the wake of Woodall delivery to the Walt Disney and Company of virtually all constituent parts necessary for its development and production after more than 17 years of inspiration and work on this animated film project with the titles of the years, Bucky. So it seems like he wrote Bucky and Bucky 2. And this project was inspired. So essentially he wrote that. And let's see here, maybe for approximately decades. Did he spend $500,000 on that? Hold on, let's read this. This project was inspired by Buck's unique exposure to Polynesian culture, including living in, so he's for approximately a decade, as well as his expenditure. He spent $500,000. Look, initially I'm like, man, he's trying to have a come up. But I can see if you spend over $500,000 creating and developing this kind of package of Bucky based on you experiencing 10 years in Polynesian culture, and you give it to somebody for a motion picture, and they give it to Disney. I'm not saying all these things are true, but if they were true, man, he has something. I didn't realize that I read a little bit of this, but I kind of figured to save the rest for you guys. I didn't realize that he spent $500,000 in personally creating, writing, and developing a motion picture package, essentially writing the script with Bucky. Heck, man, if you spent 10 years in I've never heard of Hanalei Bay, but if you spend approximately 10 years, yes, you may spend $500,000. You're talking about $50,000 a year. Okay, let's go here. Buck's purpose in constructing the package was to gear towards presentation to major constituents and distributors within an animated movie. So it seems like this was just planned all along. What Buck ultimately developed included major and unique themes, a complete screenplay, distinctive character development, and illustrations, as well as a comprehensive budget for an animated film that was extraordinarily singular in plot, sequence of events, themes, dialogue, mood, and pace, settings, and characters. So it seems like he's saying, man, look it, Walt Disney, they copied all that in Moana 2. In addition to registering both Bucky, so this is one of the things I did like that he did. He actually registered these things as trademarks with the Federal Copyright Office. So that's one of the things that he did. Now, you don't have to necessarily register your work to have copyright on it. You have copyright to the extent that you fix it in a tangible medium, but now you can actually sue somebody because it's registered with the Copyright Office. So I love the fact that he did that. And it seems like he did that a while ago. Seems like he registered his Bucky and maybe Bucky 2 movie script in 2004 and updated in 2014. And it was 203 pages of material. So it seems like it was a pretty, a lot of material. This court has already ruled as a matter of law that plaintiff indeed owns all these copyrights. So essentially, the court said to Bucky and Bucky 2, he owned the copyright to it, which I wouldn't disagree. If he filed it with the Copyright Office, damn it, he owned the copyright to it. The copyrighted materials also include a trailer. So it's some trailer. Okay, let's go on. Buck initially began interactions with Marchick regarding, okay, so this is going to get good. This is getting good. This kind of telling how Marchick comes involved. So Buck initially began interaction with Marchick regarding Bucky in the early 2000s. Buck was always careful to protect his ownership over all his IP, trade secrets, ideas, and materials developed pursuant thereto, including but not limited to all elements of the presentation of the package. So it seems like he did that via the copyright registration. From the first time he shared his copyrighted materials with Marchick, Woodall insisted that Marchick to commit to and maintain the material. Okay, so maybe he had him sign some type of confidentiality agreement or non-disclosure. Plaintiff filings with the Copyright Office were done in order to ensure his ultimate protection. So hold on, plaintiff. Then did he file the NDA or the confidentiality agreement with the Copyright Office as well? That's interesting. After October of 2003, Buck provided in confidence to Jenny extremely large quantities of IP and trade secrets associated with Bucky. At all times thereafter, and totally ignorant, so we need to underline, bold, italicize that word, of Jenny's in the defendant's fraudulent step. So they're saying, hey, I'm showing all this information in good faith, trying to land them and kind of get some type of payout. And Jenny and Walt Disney, and they were all kind of plotting behind the scenes to my ignorance. Would all reasonably believe Jenny to be acting in good faith and representing ownership by Buck of all his IP and trade secrets? Oh, that's interesting. It seems like this is going to get pretty good. In or about, so a couple years later, January of 2005, following Jenny's prodding, hey man, we need more materials. We need more materials, Buck. We need more materials. I'm assuming that he's trying to say, hey, I gave him a little bit. See, I was smart, even though I was ignorant, I was smart at the same time. I gave him a little bit, but I didn't give him everything. So it seems like Jenny came back, man. We need the rest of that story. We need the rest of that story. This is getting good. Walt Disney needs more before they make the determination whether or not to go with you. So again, if you tell me that Walt Disney need more, it seems like, okay, this is it. I need to deliver them more so that I can get this project or get this, not necessarily get the job, but get money for my project that I spent over $500,000 on over the past 10 years. Seems like Buck completed all or substantially all of the content of what is attached to Exhibit A as a presentation package. Okay, whatever. Jenny was employed at the time by Manaville. So it seems like she was employed at that time that she was talking to Buck initially at Manaville, which had a first look deal with Disney. So it seems like, and this is common where, hey, Manaville, they were essentially a film company, but they gave the right to Disney to essentially, hey, the projects that we have, we're going to give them to you guys first before we go shop these projects around to other people. So essentially, that's what was happening. And it seems like Jenny, at least according to Buck, was kind of the overplay for the underlay, whatever, how that saying goes, to say, hey, this was her, maybe, Walt Disney was saying, hey, you give us more information and we come out with Moana, we'll give you a nice cushy job within Disney. I know right now you're working with Manaville, and that's all cute and all, but it's nothing to be the head of animations or whatever the case may be for Walt Disney. So you give us some more information. It seems like this ultimately what this guy Buck is trying to allege here, that it was kind of a, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So you give me all this kind of copyrighted material, this IP, even though it's illegal, you give me this stuff from Buck, or Walt Disney is saying to Jenny, and as a return, we're going to give you a nice cushy job with Walt Disney as opposed to Mandeville, which, yeah, that's a cute job that you got, but it's not like the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the hundreds of the millions potentially in stock options that you're going to get when working with Walt Disney. This is actually getting pretty good. Where do we pick up at? So, which is favored and highly sought after relationship from the standpoint of an independent producer for the possible production and distribution of a theatrical feature produced by a major studio. At the meeting, Jenny told Buck in words of substance that she would get the presentation package to the right people. I'm gonna make sure it gets to the hands of the right people. After Jenny's review of the presentation package shortly following the January 2005 meeting, Jenny Potty went off to produce and provide to Mandeville an animated trailer. So we want any additional information. During the 2 years that followed this inducement, Buck worked on and completed. Okay, so he was spending money on his own, giving it to Walt Disney. No, that's not, to the extent that that's true. Now that's BS. It's one thing to have all this stuff already done and you shopping it around. It's one thing that you spending your own money on these trailers, on additional materials, giving it to Mandeville, giving it to Walt Disney in hopes that you're going to land it. In the meanwhile, they're kind of taking this up from up under you, and you didn't even know that was the plan the whole time. Now that's messed up. Let's continue on here. This trailer is copyrighted. So again, at least he was copyrighting stuff before he was giving it away. So shout out to Buck for that. Later during this period, Jenny prodded and induced Mandeville in addition to updated animated. So okay, we need some more information. Let's see here. I want to get to Moana too. So it seemed like he provided Walt Disney, Mandeville, Jenny a lot of information as relates to his Buck film. So it seems like these are, some of the things that they're saying is couldn't have been accidental. Both Bucky, so it seems like Bucky, I'm assuming that was named after him. Buck was kind of the main character in his play, and it seems like very similar between Bucky and Moana of obviously Moana. Tell the story about a teenager who defies parents to warnings and embarks on a dangerous voyage across the Polynesian waters to save the endangered land of Polynesian Island. Yeah, like I said, I've never knew anything about Polynesian until this lawsuit. So I would imagine that that's typically not like a standard theme that you will see in a lot of movies. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Both Bucky and Moana celebrate what Bucky's script refers to as the Polynesian people unfettered access to the sea as a native right. Whatever with that. Both Bucky and Moana involve protagonists who learn about ancient Polynesian culture during the sea voyage. Whatever on that as well. Seems like these whole ancient spirits manifested as animals which guide and guard the living. I'm not too high on that as well. Both Bucky and Moana have a backdrop, an ancient Polynesian village with its inhabitant weaving baskets, fishing. Let's see, man. Let's talk. Let's see if I can find some good stuff that I think is just not a coincidence. Again, if it's starting off, both Bucky and Moana involve a journey by the main character, which starts with the turtle. Okay, that's something. Both Bucky wore a symbolic necklace, plays a special role. Okay, plots for a necklace. Okay, now we get into some specifics. Sea navigation by the stars. Now, this is interesting. Both Bucky and Moana involve the main character who specifically encounters a goddess-like creature emanating from volcanic lava. I don't think there's a lot of movies or it's typical to have a volcanic, a goddess creature emanating from volcanic lava. Okay, so it seems like he has some stuff. Okay, a demigod with a giant hook and tattoos. Hey, look, that's just not something that you see every day in movies. I bought my daughter one of those hooks. We went to go, you see it at the movie. I don't know where we saw it at. Maybe it was a play when I had bought her a hook. We go see it. A dark cave demigod. So it seems like they have some interesting stuff, some similarities. Let's go to Moana 2 here. On November 6, 2024, so just last year. What's worried about the court? So it seems like Moana 2 blatantly copies core elements of plaintiff's works. Presently strikingly similar things. I haven't seen Moana 2. I've seen Moana 1 a few times. These similarities in the Moana 2, so I'm not going to go have. I don't want to really kind of ruin it for me as I watch Moana 2. Collectively. So it seems like, again, pretty much saying, hey, they did similar things as far as kind of taking elements of his script in Moana 2 as well. So the first cause of action, copyright infringement. He's pretty much kind of talking about his copyrights, saying that he owns it. So the funny thing is, look at this. The first cause of action, copyright infringement, and this is under federal law. He's asking for some big money, I'll tell you that. Look at the second cause of action. Continuing copyright infringement. The third cause, willful copyright infringement. Now, willful can come with some treble damages. That's where that $10 billion turned into $50 billion. Obviously, they're not going to award that, but when you say willful copyright infringement, now you're talking about, the jury is trying to punish this Walt Disney for his acts. And the fourth, injunctive relief, hey, stop copying, essentially to say, hey, take down Moana 2 and the related derivative works. Obviously, copyright, with Moana 1, it doesn't look like he has he can get an injunctive relief for him, but he's trying to say, hey, they need to take down Moana 2 and all the other derivative work. So that's where we at here. So, it seems like that's that. What do you guys think? It seems like, man, if these allegations that Buck is making is true, he may have something on his hand. Like I said, it seems like he's trying to conflate with Moana 1 and Moana 2. And even it seems like with Moana 1, he has some causes of action, but statute of limitations, which is another point. You guys need to know the statute of limitations to bring a copyright infringement lawsuit is 3 years. So the moment that you learn about it, you need to bring copyright infringement lawsuit so shortly thereafter or sooner rather than later, because when 3 years goes by, you're going to be like your boy Buck, where the court is saying, okay, you may have had something here, but we're going to dismiss it because the statute of limitations, you're barred from filing a complaint because of the statute of limitation, or a cause of action because of the statute of limitation. So, but again, with Moana 2, it seems like kind of if they're also kind of copying some similar things or committing copyright infringement from Bucky or Bucky 2 in Moana 2, then seems like he has another cause of action for copyright infringement for that copyrighted work, which is separate from Moana 1. So, based on what we didn't really go through Moana 2 in detail, but based on what he's alleging in Moana 1, if some of those same things are alleged in Moana 2, I mean, this guy Buck may have something. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit the subscribe button to join the IP community. You definitely gonna learn something, and I thought this was a pretty good kind of IP infringement case to go through with you guys. Again, they're showing a big dog Buck was, but I would imagine that this thing is going to settle maybe $1 million, maybe a couple million, especially if this thing has done already. Moana 2 has done almost $1 billion worldwide, and it's only been out like a month or so. So I definitely think that, hey man, we're gonna take you a couple $1 million and have you go away. That's what I think is going to be the result of this. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Buck should take a couple $1 million, or do you think he should take 10, 20, $50 million? If he's doing 10 billion, I think he'll settle for less than $1 billion. Let's just say that. So let me know what you guys think. Clearly, Walt Disney has the money. Moana 2, the franchise, is one of the best in-motion pictures in history, as the complaint alleges, and just kind of from a factual standpoint. So let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you guys next time. Again, apologize for not being able to do this with you guys live, but I will be live next time. Actually, I'll be in Tampa with the Shark Tank conference next time. So catch me down there. Please hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.